Hey again, my name is Andy Kuo. I was previously featured on his site and he's doing a great job with that. So now he has my other car, which is the E46 M3. It's a 2006 competition package ZCP BMW E46 M3. I think I already said that. This car has a lot of depth to me because I've been, aside from the Subaru, you know, if you've seen that video, that was my high school dream, and I built that car to be everything I dreamed of. But at the same time in high school, I was also dreaming of the E46 M3. And that car for me was, you know, much more unattainable and unreasonable. And I never thought I would have one anytime soon. So it's been a long time since then. And I basically had somewhat finished my Subaru build and was very happy with where it sat. And then I just, you know, I've been working my ass off, and in my downtime I would look at, you know, just open up my mind to different cars, and I start to look back at E46s. I joined the Facebook E46 M3 group, and I saw this car, you know, a year before I bought it, and it was so beautiful that I actually just messaged the guy on Facebook to ask him, like, hey, yo bro, like, beautiful car, you know, can you send me more pictures of it just so I could like Google over it and admire it? And he did that, and he asked me, do you want to buy it? And he gave me the number on it, and it was just ridiculous to me at that time because, you know, the E46 has been appreciating like crazy. So, you know, at that time, which was a year before I bought it, I was like, oh, no way, that just sounds ridiculous. But after 1 year of just working my ass off, saving as hard as I could, I was in a position where I thought, you know what, maybe I should look into buying this car and really consider it. Eventually, after talking to him again a year later, I realized, okay, this is a worthwhile car to buy because this spec is really rare and sought after. It's a Alpine White E46 M3 competition package. It has the full cold weather package on it, manual transmission, cinnamon interior, and everything is original. So it's in super clean condition too, and if this car was put on a BAT or bring a trailer for cars like this, the value would have been even more absurd. So I finally, right at the beginning of COVID, decided to pull the trigger, and I actually bought this car sight unseen. I never even met the guy. I never even saw the car. I literally just did all the research possible. I had some people investigate him, his background, his property, his family, make sure everything was good. And then I just wired him all the money cash direct. And then he, thank God, 1 day later of me tripping, he put the car on, loaded it onto my trailer that I sent him. So thankfully the car arrived a week later, and it was everything since that day. It's just been everything that I've ever dreamed of. This is a completely stock bay, basically, and that's something I'm actually very proud of. I really like that it's stock because for this car, it's all about reliability to me, because I actually want to drive it 10/10 the way it was intended. The only thing that I've done is I installed the radium catch can for just so the motor runs healthier, it's more reliable when tracking and driving it hard. Otherwise, you can see the car is glorious because it has the stock ITBs underneath this box, individual throttle bodies, 6 of them. But one day I would like to do a carbon fiber air box, which would replace this entire box here, come down to here, and that's something that is derived from the CSL E46 M3, and that is just glorious. It'll make the car have a glorious induction sound. It would just be eargasm every time you get on it. So one day I'll have that, but the car doesn't have that right now because of, unfortunately, Cali emissions and smog makes that a bitch to deal with.
So you got this E46 M3 dyno tuned, correct?
Oh yeah, you're right. I had this car because it arrived from the East Coast, and I realized that this car was running an OTS map, and that map I realized was for the East Coast 93 fuel. So for the first few months of ownership, I was paying a shit ton of money for fuel because I was running race fuel that I'd have to go way out of my way to buy to ensure that the octane level was over what the car was tuned for. And I was doing that as I waited for my appointment. I made an appointment with the guru god of S54 motors called Hassan of HTE Performance, and he's in Lebanon. So He actually, I scheduled an appointment with EAS, and I used their dyno, and Hassan actually remote Wi-Fi dyno tuned the car live. So he actually resolved a lot of problems with this car, did an amazing job. The car was actually running dangerously lean. So thank God I actually went on my way to do that, because it actually saved my ass, saved this motor, and saved my wallet. So the car made very good numbers. With stock induction, it made a 321 wheel horsepower and a 251 wheel torque. And you know, the dyno graph looks pretty absurd. I actually have that handy. The torque at, this is 2 to 8 grand RPM. The torque at 2 grand goes straight up, essentially a vertical line to almost max torque, and then carries that all the way across to 8 grand. And then you see the horsepower super linear all the way to 8 grand. So the power band is amazingly useful on the track, on the street, in the canyons. I just have immense power and response on tap, and that's why I love this car. I bought this car because I wanted this car. I always wanted an S2000. I guess they didn't add before. I always wanted an S2000. And in my 20s, that would have been perfect to offset the Subaru. But, you know, now that I'm in my 30s, you know, it just would be too much to have my WRX build and S2000 build, because I would definitely full Voltex, time attack, cage it, just like I did the Subaru. So this car is basically, to me, everything pro, everything great about an S2000, but with none of the cons. So it has, you know, ITB, NA, 8K, rear-wheel drive, reliable, and none of the cons. You know, it's not trying to kill you. It's, although I love S2000s and how they handle, this car is so progressive. It's so linear in terms of the power band, the braking, the handling. It's so easy to oversteer, and I just can't help but hoon here and there where it's safe, and get the car sideways and slide, because it's so progressive. So to me, this car is just a car that's so easy to drive 10/10ths, whether you're on the track or street. And it's everything I ever dreamed of and more when it comes to that. So the car actually came with KWs and the bushings throughout the car. It had Renline bushings throughout the car that tightened everything else up. It has a Canadian cage in it from Raven. It's a Bolton cage or a half cage roll bar that allows the interior to be not molested. Nothing had to be cut, and I can return the interior back to stock if I remove the cage. I do track the car, so it's nice having the half cage in it. I put on it has the carbon side skirt extensions that I think flow very well with the front carbon CSL lip. I added this is a thing that made a big difference, the paint matched side marker delete. And at first I didn't really think it was a big deal to have that, but once I installed it, then I was like, whoa, okay, that changes everything. It makes it a lot cleaner. I put on, well, the car came with silver NT03s, and I powder coated them to Volk Mag Blue. They're back at home, and I intend to have track tires on those wheels to swap to for the track. But for the street show and meet daily driving, I have actually a really rare set of wheels. These are supposedly one of 2 of Volk T37 SLs in OG color Formula Silver. And I'm running the OG decals on them because I love that OG TE look, and the color is Formula Silver. One of my friends who helped me get this wheel has the other set, so I think we're supposed to be one of 2 ever in this exact spec and bolt pattern. It's 18 by 10 plus 25 square, 5 by 120 of course, and it's on a 265 35 18 Hankook RS4, which is a glorious tire, amazingly linear track tire that is very, very progressive, as well as the chassis. Just only con is that it's crazy loud. The howling on it is absurd, and when I'm driving this car with the windows up, it just sounds ridiculous. It sounds like I have 4 failed bearings or something. But with the windows down, thankfully, the S54 motor is so glorious that I just don't hear it at all, and all I hear is motor. I guess that's a testament to BMW quality, because when the windows go up though, I don't hear the motor at all, and all I hear are the tires. So that's why I retained the NT03, so I could put a street tire on this when this is dead, and then just swap back and forth when I go to the track, canyons, or want to have that tire on the car. the car has I swapped out the lugs to have a I guess black chrome RE40 kick lugs that I think match the Formula Silver color very well. The car has Porsche 996 Brembo calipers all the way around in gold, and then I ceramic coated that in the wheels myself, and thankfully it's not as bad as it is with the Subaru to be constantly wiping down the wheels, although it's still a full-time job, just constantly wiping them down. It has the CSL rotors in order to accommodate the calipers. I'm sorry, it's the ZCP rotors, the competition package rotors, in order to accommodate these calipers. The rear of the car has a CSL trunk that was painted to expose some carbon, which I actually really like, but still look OEM. I added the carbon spoiler to match with that and tie in all the carbon around the car. It has the carbon CSL style diffuser, Group S4 quad exhaust tips for the sections 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, it's the status group exhaust for sections 1, 2, and 3 with the catalyst headers for the exhaust. And that results in a really beautiful exhaust tone that I actually really like. Normally people with S54, they really hate it or love it. They either think it sounds way too raspy or bad. For me, I actually really love it with this exhaust tone. The rasp is, I don't really hear the rasp, but the rasp that I do hear just sounds really exotic. It sounds very Euro exotic to me. So on top of the KW V2 coils, which handle glorious, the car has front and rear sway bars, front and rear camber plates, adjustable rear suspension in terms of the control arm, and all the bushings that I mentioned earlier throughout the car. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention that in terms of the valuation, this car thankfully had the big three done. And in the E46 world, that's a big deal. It's the bearings, vanos, and subframe. Because the subframe on these cars is very prone to just cracking, and basically just driving the car normally or hard, it'll just tear the subframe apart and it'll basically total out the car. So it's actually a lot of work to resolve that, and this car thankfully had its subframe inspected with no cracks and completely reinforced. Then the vanos was rebuilt, so that's good. And then the bearings were, because it's a 2006 car, the bearings were actually replaced from the factory with the updated bearings. Although that's now still something that has to be done periodically still, basically. I mean, I would still plan to do this at 100K miles. The car now has 77K miles. I've been driving it a lot. So yeah, bearings again at some point in the future, but I don't have to worry about any of these big three now. And that also increased the valuation for this car a lot. For the interior, the cinnamon again was a huge deal for the car. So I wanted to retain the stock cinnamon interior. I love how it looks against the white. It's not something I ever really envisioned owning in my life, but after seeing this and then seeing it in person, now I'm truly in love with this type of interior. Super classy, super Euro, super classic. So the only thing about the interior is I hate the stock seating position. It's super high. It's kind of like I feel like I'm in a bus or a minivan, you know, and it doesn't have that sports car feel like my Subaru does. I'm used to being, you know, on the floor, on a rail to the floor in my Recaro in the WRX. So I had a company called AMX Performance. They specialize in reupholstering Recaros, and they already have finished my Recaro. I have a Recaro Sportster CS being reupholstered. And it's cinnamon. It has all these custom details to it to make it very OEM plus, and it has very nice touches. It's heated. Only thing is that Recaro, they shut down the Recaro Sportster CS line supposedly, and you know, I guess because the Recaro, they just have shit service, so they don't need to give updates, and you know, my guy just has no ETA of when he'll get the seat. So basically I'm just waiting for that. That's one thing that I really dislike about this car, and once that is in the car, it'll be glorious with that in the car resolved. Otherwise, I've been resolving all these other things in the interior that I didn't like the shift knob. I really disliked how the OEM one was not a symmetrical shape. So I like that I got the Storm titanium knob, so it's symmetrical. I got the Storm e-brake to match it. And another thing with the car was the transmission was sloppy for what I envisioned with this car. With everything else so tight and raw, the transmission was so, you know, sloppy in comparison. So I went way out of my way and got a Auto Solutions autocross shifter mechanism for this car. It replaces the entire shifter assembly. It's basically, they say it's kind of like the CAE race shifters that extend out of the car, maybe like 85-90% of that feel, but without the look of it sticking out from the car. So now I have a spec'd out shifter for this car. He spent months, I spent months and hours talking to him on the phone to spec it exactly to my car, to my intention, what I want in terms of the feel, the force required, the throws, and to even my shift knob, because my knob sits lower. So he spec'd it out exactly to my car, and it feels like a bolt action rifle now. It's going to every gear is so sharp and so clear, so crisp, very mechanical. And that kind of just perfected the driving experience with this car. The car has Redline race pedals with a red extension on them to make it easier to heel toe at the track or just on the street when I'm downshift rev matching, which is glorious in this car because of the ITBs. It's just so responsive. And otherwise, I guess I would like to just replace or upgrade the steering wheel. One thing with this car is that it's a ZCP competition package, so it doesn't actually have cruise control, which for me was really surprising. I didn't realize it when I bought the car. So I'm trying to go way out of my way to trying to figure that out and basically add cruise control back into this car, because it'd be nice to cruise to the track or on the freeways and just be chilling, you know, with my feet up. But yeah, that's something down the road I have to resolve and look into. I've spoken to a lot of people about that, and there's many different ways to go about that. Otherwise, I'm very happy with the interior. And yeah, it's very, very comfortable. It's something that I'm not used to having in the Subaru. Like I was saying, this car is pretty perfect to me. It's just absurdly glorious to drive. I just want to keep it in the state that it's in now, as clean as possible. Just continue to drive it as much as I can, whether it's to work, track it, just around town, to the gym. Just enjoy it for what it was intended, canyon it, etc. But in terms of mods, I would like to, like I mentioned, I at some point would like to get that carbon fiber airbox. It'll be just so glorious to hear that CSL induction sound. It sounds so gnarly, and you'd have to hear videos or hear that in real life to understand that. It's just that it's very, very small horsepower to dollar ratio that you benefit from that. But for me, it'd be very worthwhile just for that response, that sound. And it's just a beautiful piece to complete the car. Aside from that, I think I resolved the transmission. Yeah, just waiting on that Recaro. I hope that comes in soon. And once that comes in and I'm happy with that seat in terms of its seating position, I will then get, of course, one for the passenger side so that they're matching. But right now, you know, I'm just trying to resolve this for myself. I think my passenger can use more space and be comfortable, and that's fine. Otherwise, maybe at some point in its life, different wheels, just another set of wheels to swap between. I think these wheels look perfect on the car, super clean and classy on a white E46, but I never actually owned in my life authentic mesh wheels or a different style of wheels that wasn't, you know, one spoke or one piece track wheels. I would consider, you know, of course, the obligatory BBS R88. I'm sorry, the E88, the VSXX, Meisters. You know, it would be a very, very different setup, but that's something that, you know, I think would be very ideal on this car for the street. Definitely be a much more showy look, but yeah, maybe one day.
All right, so gonna get a ride in the E46 M3. Gonna feel how it handles and then hear the exhaust notes. On the way here, it sounded really good, so looking forward to having it pushed a little bit more. car handles crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd. This car has some truly glorious handling. It's
Oh my gosh. This could be one of the best handling cars I've been in.
It truly is divine. It's, the chassis itself is just amazing. I've had to invest so much money into the Subaru to make it handle as godlike as it does, which it does. But this car, the chassis itself is just really impressive. So it takes a lot less, and it feels so much more natural when I'm driving it. That's the thing. The Subaru is kind of like driving like hacks. It's just like I point, go, and it's so precise. Max grip, downforce all the time. But this car it feels like a true natural sports car. It's very predictable because it feels so natural.
Give us a little background on why you chose this E46 over the E90.
So of course that was like the obligatory huge dilemma that I had when trying to buy this car, because on paper the E90 E9X chassis is a much better car on paper. I could actually bought an E9X chassis for 5-10 grand cheaper than what I bought this car for, and I would have had a V8 STC5, more horsepower, bigger car, newer, much more refined, more space, all these good things. But in the end, this car was more ideal for me because for me, like I said, I wanted an S2000, but this car serves that purpose while being far more refined and classy. I drove some homies E9X cars, and it was amazing. The power was pretty glorious, and the motor just sounds absurd, sounds divine. ITBs with a V8 is crazy. But in the end, that car to me, I could feel the weight. It definitely felt like a much larger car. I could feel the weight. And to me, I think that car, it would be what I would imagine like a M5 of this generation should have been like. I think that unequivocally, the E9X and F80 chassis, M3s, M4s, they are undoubtedly the better car, for sure, all around on paper. Better car, but the better M3 is the E46 in terms of what an M3, the true spirit of it is, and what it entails, and what the experience should be like to me. It's far more raw, far more visceral, far more connected, far more direct. And I guess it basically would be a cross between, the E46 to me is like a cross between the S2000 and the E9X F80, right in between, and the best of both worlds. And that's ideal for me in my life right now, and I think it'll be ideal for my entire life as I own this car for my whole life.